Want to bring in Arizona Senator Mark Kelly. He joins us now here. Senator, good to see you.
Good to see you.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, how's the first night of the convention?
Well, it's great. It's pretty loud in there.
But luckily we have these big things on our ears so we can hear well.
I don't know what we'd do without them. I was just in Glendale with my wife, Gabby Giffords, seeing the Vice President and Tim Walz just last week, and the energy in that room was just off the charts.
Want to ask you about the state of Arizona. CBS has a new poll out this weekend that shows that Trump is ahead by 1 point in Arizona. It's one of the 3 of the 7 battleground states where Trump still has a lead. Of course, Harris has narrowed the gap.
Yep.
What do you see as the challenge in Arizona for the Democratic ticket?
Well, first of all, I wouldn't say 1 point is a lead. You know, we know that's...
Well, you know what? You are absolutely right. I know my polling. That's right. Within the margin of error.
It's within the margin of error. But let's talk about, you know, on the options here. We have Kamala Harris that can lead this country into the future, that is going to help bring down costs for American families, housing, prescription drugs, groceries, all those things American families care about. We have Donald Trump, who can drag us back into the past. I mean, what has he done for Arizona when you think about it? He's restricted women's reproductive rights. He says that he broke Roe v. Wade, and because of that, women in Arizona we've been bouncing back and forth between one abortion ban and another. And he said he's going to double down on that. He's going to restrict, if he gets the opportunity, he said he'll restrict abortion medication from being shipped between states. That's effectively going to ban abortion. Arizona women and men are fed up with this. For that reason, I believe Kamala Harris is going to win in Arizona. Now, in Arizona, elections are often very close, statewide elections. Was for me in 2020, again in 2022. But I'm going to do everything I possibly can to make sure Kamala Harris and Tim Walz win in Arizona and they are elected to the White House.
And is there a reproductive rights or abortion issue on the ballot as well in Arizona this year?
There is. I mean, to restore a right that was taken away by Donald Trump. So that's going to be on the ballot. And my hope is, and my expectation is, that's going to pass and women will get these rights back. It has been a really horrible time for women in Arizona since Donald Trump got into the White House, but really what he did with the Supreme Court and enabled this fundamental right to go away.
What have you counseled the Vice President and Governor Walz in terms of what they would need to do in order to win the state of Arizona?
Well, Kamala Harris has a great story to tell for Arizona. When you look at the CHIPS and Science Act, bipartisan legislation she supported, the White House worked on, that's tens of thousands of good-paying jobs that you can actually raise a family on. I've met some of these folks. You know, jobs that you don't need a 4-year degree for. She has delivered on that issue. And so many issues. I mean, she is the obvious choice here. It's not Donald Trump. I mean, the guy has basically his legacy is a giant tax cut for billionaires like himself.
And yet one of the biggest vulnerabilities for the Democratic Party, and certainly this administration, is immigration. That's a big issue not only in your state, but across this country.
It's an issue I've worked on with this White House and with Kamala Harris as well. And we, with the White House and Democrats and Republicans in the United States Senate, we worked together and crafted a strong border security bill. It was bipartisan. It had the votes. And then we know what happened. Donald Trump told them they can't vote for it.
But do you think that voters, persuadables in your state, believe that it was Donald Trump who killed the bill?
Well, he did. I mean,
I know. I understand from following that. But do you think they believe that?
Some do, and there are probably some that don't. And that's why it's my job to explain that to them over the next 70-something days, that this was an opportunity we had to do something through legislation, which is really the way this is supposed to be done. Now, in the absence of that legislation, this administration took some executive actions, and that takes care of some of the issues. What my expectation is when Kamala Harris is president, we're going to bring that bill back. With Donald Trump out of the picture, we're going to get Republicans to support that bill. We're going to pass it. We're going to get it to her desk to get signed.
I want to bring in my colleagues, John Dickerson and Robert Costa as well.
Senator, you mentioned that in Arizona, votes are close for you in 20 and 2022. Obviously, Donald Trump made a lot about how close the race was in 2020. How are you feeling about the security of the vote when it comes in and whether there will be mischief making that will create all kinds of mischief?
Well, Donald Trump lying about our democracy is what's going to cause the problem. I mean, if there is one. I mean,
But is Arizona impervious to that because you have good local officials who are going to get it done and not let that befuddle them?
Well, that's true. I mean, our Secretary of State, Adrian Fontes, our Governor, Katie Hobbs, are going to make sure that we have a free and fair election like we did in 2020. The former governor, Governor Doug Ducey, I mean, he talked about very eloquently about how we do elections well in Arizona. And the reason he says this is because we do. We're really good at this. A lot of people vote by mail, but we count the votes. There's limited, fraud that goes on. Obviously, there's always, one or two here that happens. But we had a fair election in 2020, despite what Kerry Lake and Donald Trump currently say about this. They just don't want to lose. I mean, we've all grown up with kids in middle school that don't like to lose. That's what the two of them are. They don't want to lose. They will never admit it when they lost. They lost in 2020, and they're going to lose again here in 2024.
Senator, good to see you. When you look at Arizona, there are still many John McCain Republicans, traditional Republican hawks in the state, Jeff Flake Republicans, members of the LDS Church who find Trump repugnant when it comes to his character. What are you doing personally to win over those traditional Republicans in Arizona, not just to sit home maybe because they can't vote for Trump, but to actually come across the aisle and vote for Vice President Harris?
Well, those John McCain Republicans, many of them voted for me in 2020 and again in 2022. And it's because on so many issues, we're sort of, in the same place. We don't agree on everything. I didn't agree with John McCain on everything. But he was a hero of mine, a guy I looked up to from my early days in the United States Navy. And I have tremendous respect for him. And I have tremendous respect for the Republican Party in Arizona the way it used to be under John McCain, under Jeff Flake, and others. The Republican Party, unfortunately, has changed in the state of Arizona and in so many other places. Now, it's important to me, and I think it's important to our country, that we have two strong, normal parties, Democrats and Republicans. That is healthy for our democracy. And my expectation is after 2024 and Donald Trump goes back to the golf course for good, we can get back to that in Arizona and other states.
Senator Mark Kelly, always good to have you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Good seeing you.
Yes.
Thank you for having me on.
Give Gabby Giffords our best.
I will do that. Thank you.